Welcome to the UpSwing, where real estate is boring, but the people and their stories are interesting. Hey, we're back. The UpSwing, it's Thursday, right before Memorial Day weekend. Wanted to get a little episode out before the weekend hits, and got some good topics to talk about today. But I think first off, let's talk about the little race you had last weekend, a little adventure race. How'd that go?
It was good. First off, happy birthday to you. It's our birthday week, right? Birthday tomorrow for you.
Yep.
Big one.
Yep.
The race was good. So it was actually pretty interesting. So it was last Saturday, right? So 4 p.m. the night before, we got an email that the race course changed because the waters were too high. And so our paddle went from 8 miles to 21. And then that took our foot section out for that, like added another 5 miles in the mountains. So it was crazy. I'm not going to get into all the crazy details about the adventure race process, but basically you got to get all these checkpoints, right? So there are 21 checkpoints you had to get over the 12-hour window. We didn't hit the second checkpoint till like 1:30 p.m., which was bonkers. We finished with 10 freaking checkpoints.
And how was the, I know that you were going to go like whitewater rafting pretty much. And I think, did you go near that, like the gorge or the West Virginia bridge there?
We didn't go to that bridge. So actually, It was funny. A buddy was asking me if we went under that bridge. So I don't know we were on the New River, is the name of it. But we didn't hit that actual like crazy bridge where people jump off it and skydive, all that kind of stuff. But
that was kind of fun though. I mean, that was
all. That was like, so we literally, they did a little teaser or whatever to start off with, prologue. It was actually a question. They said, see if you can get this in 2 seconds. It was like, the more you feed it, the bigger it grows, but when you give it a drink, it goes away. Any idea?
No.
It took us like 5 minutes. It's a fire. So think about that.
Okay.
The more you feed it, the more it goes. So anyway,
That
was the prologue. So then once your team got that, you then hopped in the boat. There were 7 of us and a guide. So that's just like literally, it was more fun than anything else, but it was cool. It was some whitewater stuff. It's pretty wild so the river was really fast, but some of the really good features weren't as intense because the water was so high. We basically got out of that super long foot section, a bike. We were biking through like freaking 50 yards of 3 foot high water and mud and all that kind of stuff. It was fun. Got trashed overall and hopped in the car at 9:30. Got home at 3:45 a.m.
Yep. So, and made it back to what you needed to do. I think you were going to church and
son, 8-year-old's first communion. So we got back for that.
It's not one you want to miss, I guess, right? So
no, I'd have been in trouble for that.
Yeah.
But we were good.
How did Cole make out? Pretty good?
Yeah, he was good. So it's funny. So Cole's my son's name too. So
yeah.
Cole
right.
Williams, my buddy in the race. So no, he was good. We crushed it. He said it was his toughest race ever. He hadn't done as many of them. I don't know if it was our toughest race ever, but again, like the mountains, a lot of the ones we do in Florida are just flat. So
right.
Good.
Well, nice. Well, so it's been a week so far. I mean, again, it's only Thursday, but we got some stories about this week. I think I know one was you were having some issues with some closings that you got coming up. Not really issues, but just things that you're trying to work through, and with some short-term rentals, being that we're heading into summer and everything's booked, and talk about that.
I mean, this is the time of year when, right? So, short-term rentals are a huge segment of our market, especially a lot of stuff that we sell, and dealing with the transition from, is it on a rental management program? Is the seller doing the rentals? Who's it with? So we actually have 2 that we're closing literally today that were in 2 different scenarios. So one was on Evolve's program. So Evolve is a kind of a platform where really they're just handling the accounting side of it. The owner then is handling the cleaning and the actual coordination with the cleaners. But the way Evolve works, they're paying to cancel stuff. So they actually, if the seller had like 6 rentals post closing, and Evolve wanted to charge him $175 per cancellation. Didn't want to do that. It was like $1,000 to basically cancel those rentals. So,
and that's probably something that is in their contract, right? But it's one of those, fine details that maybe you don't rent. Like it says something to the effect of if you sell the unit and were to cancel, blah blah blah, right? I mean, so
they're not thinking about it, right? When they sell it. I mean, probably a whole.
But it's something that people should, right? I mean, when you're buying a property or you're about to sign some sort of contract with a rental management company, just sometimes you do want to read the fine print.
Yeah, that's pretty key.
Yeah.
I mean, and then like what we said, trying to work with a real estate broker that understands the nuances of how to transfer it over. So we basically had a management company that was taking those over and trying to transfer, even though they technically weren't managed or booked by that company, how they handle them. And then everything from the cleaning crew to the locks and who's getting the guests, the code. So it's just a lot of logistics that go into it. And again, if this were a November timeframe, not a big deal. Like, right, there's 2 rentals on the books and nothing too crazy.
Well, you had one story one time too. One of your clients that I guess he said that he would manage the 3 rentals that he had on the books for the next month, right?
Oh, this one was a dumpster fire. Yes, yeah. That was the one. That was
this is a funny story.
That was Heron Point. So yeah, what happened with that one was the seller. He had rentals that were on the books. Seller said, "Okay, cool. We're closing on, like, I'm gonna make up the dates. But we're closing on the 5th, and I got a renter that's checking out on the 5th, but I'm gonna handle that rental through the 8th. I'm gonna handle the next one. I'm gonna handle the next one. I'm gonna pay." So the seller was gonna pay the new owner the rental income, but just wanted to manage, didn't want to cancel those last minute on the renter. So we said, great, no problem. We'll handle them. Then after that final rental, you'll take over. Well, so unbeknownst to us, on the closing date, the buyer went into the property, did their own cleaning, said they went and got all these like 1,500 count sheets and changed all this stuff, put pillows and all that kind of stuff in there. The sellers had no idea. So the way the cleaning crew works is the cleaning crew goes in there after the guest comes out. They strip all the linens, the towels. They put a new set in there. They're not cleaning them and putting them back on there.
Right.
So we can't. So the seller reaches back out. The buyer reaches back out and says, "What happened to all my towels, my linens?" We're like, "What the heck are you talking about? We didn't even know they put anything in there." So they went into that day. Meanwhile, the seller was still managing the dang thing for the next couple rentals. Accused him of stealing his linens, which no one even knew about the linens. So I ended up having to freaking pay for the linens just because it's one of my really, really good clients. I'm like, listen, couldn't find your silk sheets.
Those sheets were gone. I mean, they're probably on some other unit somewhere. Yeah. Someone's enjoying some nice sheets.
It's a cleaning company that probably handles thousands of properties, right? So we don't know where the heck they went. But,
yeah.
I mean, it was just, and then the buyer was pissed at me. Basically was like, "You don't know what you're doing." And meanwhile, we've sold thousands of these properties, and this was actually her agent's like first short-term rental they've ever sold. So you blame me, you're blaming the other agent. I'm not going to throw any other agents under the bus, but that one was a mess. But just normally, it's a pretty good, transition if you handle it right. Like the other one, super quick. The other story, my seller and buyer. So that seller already had a bunch of rentals. He agreed, hey, just to make it easy, we're going to handle the rentals through June. We're going to pay the buyer the rental income. He's going to handle 20% management fee type of scenario. And the new company is going to handle it starting July 1. So now they can go ahead and take a month plus to go ahead and ramp up rentals. They can start taking reservations today for July 1. So that was an easier process. But still, there's just coordination that goes into it that people don't kind of realize.
Yeah, I mean, and I think especially in Myrtle Beach where we have a ton of short-term rentals and, as we get into the heart of the summer, which basically starts this weekend, it gets harder and harder to sell these short-term rentals, in these months. And you really need to have an agent that knows what they're doing. Yeah. I mean, that's, to at least help. I mean, it's got to be communication. It's got to be on all fronts. So, yeah. I
know, speaking of what we got going on, so this is we're in the transition from a couple wild bike weeks in town. So, this Memorial Day weekend's always one of our wild and crazy ones. I always kind of say, like, there's no more people in town than the middle of July. You just get $400,000 people that are on their motorcycles going 100 miles an hour down the road.
So, yeah, I mean, last week was, like Harley Week, which was, a lot down in Myrtle's Inlet, a lot up at Barefoot, North Myrtle. The city of Myrtle doesn't get, we get bikers and a lot of people are, a lot of them are staying in the city. But I know 10, 15 years ago, back in the day, they used to have huge events at Broadway at the beach, and they don't do that anymore. And I think I believe it's because that, 1 or 2 years that they basically passed a law where you had to wear a helmet in the city of Myrtle, kind of pissed off a lot of people. And they basically just started driving around the city of Myrtle. They would just go from Myrtle's Inlet, go 707, 31 to make it up to North Myrtle. And so they just kind of bypassed it. And now everyone just stopped coming back, with the vendors and all the big shows and everything in the heart of the city of Myrtle.
That's probably a decade ago. So that was when. Yeah. So it was crazy. The city of Myrtle Beach, whether they were trying to get rid of the bike weeks or not, the city enacted this new rule. If you were in the city of Myrtle Beach, a lot of people don't realize, so our Myrtle Beach address is a pretty huge, location, right? But the actual city is just closer to the beach, not necessarily as wide. So if you were in the city, you had to wear a helmet with your bike. But then what happened, I forgot the whole process, but basically there was a lawsuit against the city that went to the state Supreme Court, state overturned because it's South Carolina state law that you don't have to wear a helmet. Gotcha. So it was overturned.
Right.
It was like 2 years, right? It was a 2-year window.
Yeah. And I remember they just, for the longest time, they just had the signs kind of just covered over. Yeah. They never took them down, but they were just covered over. I think maybe they thought they could change it, but I think it pissed off a lot of people in that community. And they just, said, well, we're just not going to hold events in the city anymore. Yeah. But it was busy. It was definitely busy down in Myrtle's Inlet. My gym is really close to Suck Bang Blow and the Beaver Bar and all those places. And the parking lot was just littered with, trash and everything from everyone just parking over there and walking over and partying. And I think they had a good time. I think it was pretty eventful, week and a half or so for that. And I think last week was also the Blue Crab Festival in Little River. Everyone loves that. It's been around forever. I haven't been in a while, but I know that, we used to go, a little bit back in the day, 15, 20 years ago. It's up there close to the casino boats and always a good turnout up there. This week is Atlantic Beach Bike Week, and it runs pretty much from Wednesday to Monday. So it's gonna bring in a ton of bikers, and and of course it's Memorial Day weekend, so tons of traffic. We got the Sun Fun Festival, which I know they still do a parade downtown, on the boulevard at some point. Not sure exactly when.
I think I've ever been to the Sun Fun Festival.
I think I actually walked in it a long time ago when I worked at Sprint PCS.
What do you mean walked in it?
Like we had a car and a banner and a sign and stuff. Yeah. Yeah.
God, that sounds fun. A couple weeks out from, I'm sure we'll get some fun reporting on CCMF. That's a couple weeks out from that. But so that's our big country music festival in 2 weeks, something like that. So
yep.
That's a big one. That's why, I'd say it's probably, somebody was asking, what's the biggest event of the year? It's got to be that. For as many people that come. Obviously, summertime, whatever, you got 1 million people a week that are here. I think for a singular event, it's got to be one of the bigger ones.
Yeah, Carolina Country Music Festival. I think I actually just got our tickets this week, so that everyone's starting to get them. A lot of big acts that are coming this year, of course, like always, and should be exciting. We'll talk about that as we get closer. I think the hardest part is just trying to get Ubers before and after. I think one time you went and it was just they
don't work, right?
Right. Or I guess you couldn't get service, right? And then you walked.
I think I walked all the way home one time.
Yeah. Right.
It was I'm in pretty good shape. So we did some races. It was a good hike.
Yeah. What else we got? So we got, I know that we were talking about the house that has the crawl space. Yeah. What's the status with that?
We got a really horrible appraisal on it. We're good with it. So we ended it. So the guy ended up getting, I forgot what was the acronym, but it was the IBTS. So they were actually great to work with. So he ended up, we found your TMS number, it's the legal tax number. We got that to the IBTS company, and he paid a rush fee of $300 and actually got it the same day. So we got it to the lender, but we got a horrible appraisal on it. So appraisal sucked. It, so the actual trailer itself was 1,050 square feet, but there was an addition done a long time ago.
Yeah.
That added 300 square feet. And so the way that obviously a lot of stuff that we look at from a value perspective, right, is price per foot. So what's your heated price per foot? And the appraiser didn't include it. And I was like, well, why the heck didn't you include that in the price per foot? And then she said, well, it wasn't heated and cooled. Well, it's clearly heated and cooled. There's vents in there. You can look at the pictures. So I don't know if she was just being a pain in the butt with it. It was kind of an appraiser that we've had some problems with in the past.
Right. So the tax records are always going to show kind of the original, unless something was, I don't know, recorded somewhere, but it's going to show that original from 1983, when it was a manufactured home that was brought in there and, detitled and all that stuff. And then they added that 15 years later, they added, 500 square feet.
So if it's permitted, it should be on there. Everything's not always permitted. Who knows? Literally, this guy obviously owned it for 2 months, right? So this was done a long, long time ago.
Yeah.
But it's literally heated. You can see the AC vents that are there.
So what action as a realtor? I know that, we can kind of contest them. Depends on the lender, really, if we can order another one. Is that what's happening here? Are they going to order another one?
So we'll just give you numbers, right? So we're under contract at 220. The appraisal came in at 193, which is bonkers low. If we add the square footage back in there, we would have been over the 220 number if she would have counted that square footage correctly. So Yeah, a couple different. So we go back to the appraiser. We basically challenge we can send her different comps and ideas. Her comment back to that was, first she said it needs to be heated and cooled. There's no vents. I said, there's clearly vents. Here's the pictures of the vents for it. And then she said, well, there's an exterior door, which I have no idea. Like that just ticked off my seller even more. So like there's an exterior door going out your front door. So what does that mean? Your living room doesn't count for square footage. So she obviously, some appraisers are great to work with. Like, hey, here's the comps. Man, let me go back. I'll make an adjustment. You're right. But you think we're calling somebody out and basically telling them they're not doing their job right.
Right.
Which never goes over too well. And so in that scenario, it sounds like she's not going to make an adjustment. So the seller went to the buyer yesterday, was like, I'm not dropping my price to 193. Go to your lender, see if they will agree to a second appraisal, and I'll pay for it. So the seller agreed to pay for another appraisal, which if we get a legit one, it would be pretty good. So we're beyond the HUD tag, appraisal issues, and then we'll see where it goes. Speaking of that, it's funny crawl space stuff made me think about this. So we got a home inspection yesterday on a property that came along, and it had the crawl space had a baby gate on it. It's pretty good. Not recommended. So basically, like the inspection report came back and said need to install a door on the crawl space, and then I went and looked at the pictures, and there was literally a baby gate.
They just strapped it in there, or
just across like the entrance, like things could go in and out of it. Yeah, not really good.
Interesting. Is that the first time you've seen a baby gate on a crawl space?
I got a fun. I love lists, right? So I love lists and different scenarios. So I didn't even tell you about this yet. So Realtor.com, they actually have some pretty good articles, right? That pop out, and national ones, regional, breaks down different areas. So this headline was the most affordable beach town for homeowners in 2025. You want to guess anything on that list?
Us?
We are on the list. So it's crazy. So any other quick guess? Top 10? We're Myrtle Beach. So interesting that there's two of our local towns on the list. Myrtle Beach is number 6.
Okay.
Give me anything else?
Like, and this is where again?
Whole country. So basically the article was the most affordable beach homes for home buyers in 2025.
Virginia Beach?
Virginia Beach. Not on there. Ocean City, Maryland, 12.
Yeah.
Number 1 was actually Pascagoula, Mississippi. Hadn't heard of that. The picture they show on there's a pretty crappy looking house. But Myrtle Beach was 6. Surfside Beach was number 9, actually. But pretty cool article. So this is pretty
top
funny.
10.
So they how we determine the nation's most affordable beach houses. We went to basically zip codes. Put our cities with properties that said the average price point. But here's a pretty funny thing with this picture. So if you scroll through the pictures, the one in Myrtle Beach has average median price $299, which is probably a little bit low. That could be like condo or houses. But the picture, look at this 2-bedroom cottage being offered for $299. Just a short stroll or golf cart to the beach in the Ocean Lake subdivision, Myrtle Beach. So
well,
the scoop of the Ocean Lakes though.
Yeah.
So
they don't own the land.
You don't own the land, right. So it's not really out. So it's just we got something under contract at Ocean Lakes right now. Ocean Lakes is kind of an anomaly in town where it's a really cool community. Like people love it when you go in there. Gated, tons of cool amenities. Like they have a post office. They got their own water.
They built I think they built like a $10 million water park.
Yeah.
Ultimately, they were trying to keep everybody like just to stay on property and spend money on property at their restaurants and snack bars. And why go pay at a water park somewhere else and buy lunch over there? Then you can just do it here. So it was pretty smart.
But pretty cool overall. Always good to be on lists like that. And I think we've been on the list for a while, and some good pub on there too. Like not only is Myrtle Beach about beach lifestyle, but golf capital of the world, 80 golf courses, bunch of attractions and amenities that we all know of and stuff as well. So pretty cool list. What else we got?
We had the Picasso.
So Picasso is interesting, man. So your take on I just saw a headline about Picasso, and
we're not talking about the art.
No,
and the artiste. So
it's a super high end. They're not in our market yet. It'd be interesting to talk about. Could you see it in our market? Could it make sense, or could there even be? It doesn't have to be Picasso, like the concept. So the way the concept works, it's not a timeshare. It's more like interval ownership, right? So it's their headlines like luxury vacation home ownership elevated is kind of one of their their taglines for. I just actually saw like an article where they were raising more money there. I don't think they're necessarily going public, but they were raising like private capital to grow it. So I didn't even dive in deep into like how you're making money from an investor standpoint. But
so it's almost like maybe they're raising money to buy properties to then sell the interval ownership.
So I mean, so if you click,
so, I mean, to me, I looked over it a little bit. I mean, are we thinking that it's like the next type of timeshare type stuff?
That's what I said.
Really?
It's more,
I mean,
so it's really interval ownership, right? So it's you actually own. So the timeshare world these days, like you're buying points. You can go to Aruba, you can go to the Bahamas, you can go to Myrtle Beach, wherever it would be. So this you're actually buying like a one. And most of them are 1/8. So like you're buying. So like here's one in. And I pulled this one up, right? So this is in Kiowa Island, which Kiowa is like super high end for our area, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's not our area; it's south of Charleston, between Charleston and Hilton Head. So it's top in the car. It's 2.5, 3 hours from here. So like, here's a house. So you're buying a 1/8 ownership for $927,000. So you have like your weeks for it. So I mean, you do your basic math. 52. So you're getting like 6.5 weeks a year of ownership. I do think you have the ability to rent it when you're not using it, but it's basically like bringing like, so if you Google that same house and pull it up, it's got like, it's not for sale, but it's got like a Zestimate though of like 5 million. So they're selling, eight of them for $927,000.
Right.
So that amounts to 7.5 million. But meanwhile, like it had, not that Zillow is always 100% accurate, but but it had like a Zestimate of 5.5 million. So basically, if you don't have the money to pay 5.5 million, you can buy your 1/8 share of that house for $927,000. But it's kind of interesting. I mean, there actually are some of those in Pawleys Island and like Litchfield.
Yeah.
You go, so like in our MLS when we're searching, you can actually search interval.
Right. We've seen them in definitely like even North Myrtle and Cherry Grove and stuff for a while. I mean, sometimes people would comment to us and be like, hey, what's this one? Because it would be like $48,000 and it's an oceanfront beach house.
Yeah. But it's not basically, the funny thing is, I think the way you can do it, like you don't have to actually be zoned for like short, you don't have to be zoned for interval or timeshare, which obviously be tough from a zoning perspective, right? So like anybody, like I could basically buy a property. I think this is what they're doing without looking into the nuts and bolts of it. You buy a property, the property's in the name of an LLC, and then you're selling 1/8 shares of ownership of the LLC. So it's kind of like a workaround. So like there was an article that said like, oh, there's some cities that are getting ticked off, about the Picasso concept in their market. Like think about if your neighbor, like you live in a residential neighborhood, right?
Right.
If your neighbor was like, hey, I'm going to sell, my house to 8 different people. Would it tick you off the 8 different people that were,
Right. And I guess it really wouldn't be, because most like neighborhoods aren't allowed to have short-term rentals.
Right. So I think this is a workaround. It's an interesting concept for it overall, but it's cool. Their stuff's super high end. Like, even like, you're in, if you look at their portfolio for it, Kiowa, Jackson Hole,
destination,
Palm
vacation,
Springs,
type,
Vail, Los Cabos. So yeah, super high end stuff that's out there overall. But I think they're literally going into like, neighborhoods that, right, you aren't typically short-term rentals, and you're not necessarily short-term rentals. You're just selling the shares. So
right.
It's interesting. Like I said, there'd be, even if Picasso, which again, frankly, higher end than Myrtle Beach, right. But if someone had a similar concept to it, could you do that? And you think about from a seller? So if I go to you, Mark, you have a house that's $500,000, and we said, hey, you could sell it for $500,000, but if we chopped it up and sold 8 shares of it, we could get you $750,000. Would it be something where you can make some more money from a seller perspective?
And I would assume that they'd want to close like all at once, right? Like, I mean, you'd want to have it all.
I don't know. I don't think so. I think you could. So it's like you're selling a business, right? You're selling you got an LLC, and you're selling each of them individually. It's interesting. I don't know. I thought it was cool. And like just the vacation rental world makes me think about for our market. Is there something that, I could see it with beach houses. Like you see it with beach. I haven't seen it with any beach houses like in North Myrtle Beach or that area, but I think it's kind of a workaround if the zoning isn't there.
Yeah,
and it creates a higher value potentially for your property.
Okay.
What else we got? We always got. We have what's our quick NFL hit? of the episode. The Tush Push yesterday did not pass. I
Yep.
think you and I are on different sides of the fence with this. So it's funny. So like you had to what? They had to have 24 owners that voted against it. They got 20 that voted for it, right? There were 22 that voted.
No, I think it was 22-4, and then like
You needed 24 to pass it,
right, yeah,
or to pass.
something. It was something
Yeah,
weird,
but it didn't pass. So
yeah,
it's got the ban of it didn't pass.
right.
I don't think you think that like it should be banned.
I mean, I don't know. It's one of those things where, you know, as a Commanders fan, we have to play the Eagles twice. So
Yeah, I don't like the
we have to
Eagles.
deal with, Hurts and Saquon Barkley. I mean, they both squat, I don't know, 650, right? Plus you had Dallas Goedert to push him and Saquon pushing, you know, it just, the whole pushing thing from behind is one of those that's, it's always been a tricky thing. I know my son plays football and I know in high school, you are not allowed to push from behind. So if you're a wide receiver and you catch the ball and then all of a sudden your teammate comes and he just helps you get an extra 2 or 3 yards, they'll actually can call a penalty on you. And so that's not in the NFL, where I thought maybe they would say, okay, let's make it where, if it's behind the line of scrimmage, you can't push or something. I'm not too worried about the injury part of it. You know, those guys probably aren't going to get injured. I mean, they have, like I said, they have the largest legs, but Jaden Daniels, he's not going to attempt that.
We don't.
He's not going to be at the bottom of those piles.
You can't do it just for like. Listen, I don't like the Eagles either, but I think that we can't do it just to ban just because we're ticked off by one team that does it.
Right.
That's my thing with it. Like, listen, like stop it. Right. It is what it is. But anyway,
yeah,
we'll kick it on from there.
Yeah.
Off-season stuff, but get it going.
So what you got this weekend?
I don't know. We're nothing too wild. So my we're usually out of town because my birthday's next week. So my birthday usually lands on Memorial Day somewhere, but we're kicking it.
I feel like normally, I mean, for the longest time, you've always normally skipped town on Memorial Day, and
I mean, again, the traffic's so wild and crazy that it's not the best for real estate showing purposes. But
right,
now a couple of that with birthday weekend, usually hopping out of town. But now we're kicking here. I think play some golf. And mess around. I may have a client or two. And that's it. You're hitting your
a little birthday tomorrow.
Birthday
it's a big day. You know, turning the old big 45. Don't mind saying it. I'm all right with it. The grays, for some reason, the grays look a little bit grayer in the camera, but it's all good. It's all good. Gonna hit the movies tomorrow. I think.
I think that's weird. But
I'm gonna hit a later, early afternoon. See the new Mission Impossible. I like the movies. I don't know.
Yeah,
I like the popcorn. And then I don't know, a little hangout Friday night, and then I think it's a pool day. One of my friends has a really nice pool that is awesome, and so we're gonna go over there and hang out. And I don't know, Saturday probably a beach day. Not a huge fan of going on Memorial Day. It's just too crowded down there, parking and we normally have a big crew that goes to the beach, so I'll probably try to hit the beach on Sunday. I know that you said maybe it might be raining, but I don't know. So.
Yeah, we're kicking it too. So we'll catch up. We'll see what kind of action we get this weekend and see what we got next week for any new wild stories.
Next time we have this, we will both be 45.
There you go.
Yep.
All right. Catch you next week.
Catch you on the flip side.